Oh, it's on!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Pitch Unhinged Debate. We're back for another season, and today we're going to be talking baseball. We got three questions for you. The first question is going to be 3 minutes. The second question is going to be about an hour of the year. That's going to be 4 minutes. And then the third question will be 5 minutes regarding who we think will go on Cinderella run this postseason. So we're going to start with a 3-minute question. We're going to talk about Carlos Rodon. We'll start a 3-minute timer now. Carlos Rodon, he was the Yankees 2 this season. Did he do enough in his 2024 season to justify the Yankees not signing Yamamoto or Snell to replace him as their number 2 guy last offseason? Do you think he did enough? Did he not do enough? Go ahead.
So I think he played exactly along the line of just enough. With that being said, a couple bad starts, I would say that it wouldn't be worth it. Although you definitely have to take into account the whole contract situation about the potential of re-signing Soto.
1,000%. That's the exact point. We've seen Steinbrenner's been very vocal about not wanting to live above the 300 mark with their payroll. And we've seen that the Yankees payroll right now is at 320. It's at 325. So if they move around some guys, Rizzo they could get rid of, maybe Verdugo, Grisham, they could move around some guys, they could find a way to make it work. However, if we would have added Snell's salary, which is 31 million, or Yamamoto's salary, which is 27 million, I don't see an option to re-sign Juan Soto. And obviously he's a top priority over either of those guys.
Yeah.
However,
With
I'm
that
going
being
to add,
said,
I'm
I
going to talk.
think the number one goal this offseason. Sure.
No, go ahead.
In my head, the number one goal this offseason for the Yankees would be to get Soto back.
Yeah.
More important than the between Rodon or Snell. I think having Soto would create a significantly better impact on the Yankees for the future. So you know what, I think it might have been the right move to stick with Rodon, just so that we definitely have the opportunity to go back at Soto this offseason and hopefully re-sign him.
And well, Rodon's stats aren't amazing. He definitely had that slump, and his ERA is above 4 at 4.12 and 15-9 with the Yankees run support. Like it could be better. However, Rodon's very close. You see, the way his arsenal works kind of forces him to have to throw a off-speed pitch in the upper part of the zone. On occasion, that resulted in a lot of home runs. He's allowed 29 home runs this season. That's the third most in MLB. However, if he can get those home run numbers down just a little bit, I think that he'll be a true number 2 starter maybe next season or the follow. So just to sum it up, we have 30 seconds left. How confident do you feel with Rodon being the Yankees' number 1 lefty going into the playoffs?
You know what, I think the Yankees are going in with a lot of momentum. The past couple weeks have been really great for them, coming out of that midseason slump a little bit. So I'm very optimistic for the Yankees as a whole. And even Rodon, I think he'll be able to get the job done.
All right, so moving on, we're now going to move on to our second question. We're going to talk about our favorites for NL Rookie of the Year. 4 minutes on the clock. Who do you got?
My pick for National League Rookie of the Year this season would have to be Jackson Merrill. San Diego center fielder has put himself together a really nice rookie season, batting .292 with 154 hits. And I really think that it will be a good race. There are a couple other good competitors there. But I think Jackson Merrill definitely has the edge.
So you mentioned a couple other competitors there, and when I was doing my research, looked through the 3 obvious names: Jackson Merrill, Jackson Churio,
Yeah.
and Paul Skeens. And
Exactly.
at first, I compared the 2 outfielders, Merrill and Churio. Merrill has better OPS at 827. He has a better defensive fielding value, 8-6. However, I don't think people realize the Paul Skeens factor because not as many people watch the Pittsburgh Pirates. Paul Skeens has in 126 innings pitched has a 10-3 record with a 2.07 ERA. 2.07. And just to put a pin in it to look at the Paul Skeens factor. When other pitchers start for the Pirates are 59 and 73. That's 14 games under 500. When Skeens starts, they're 13 and 8. They're a completely different team, and he doesn't get run support, and he still has a 10 and 3 record as a starter. A 2.07 ERA. That's ridiculous. And coming in, I thought that I was going to be like you and pick Jackson Merrill. The odds makers say that Jackson Merrill has it. However, the Paul Skeens factor is legit, and he's not going to be playing in the playoffs, unlike the other two guys, which I guess does take away from it. However, Paul Skeens factor is legit. Baseball's a team sport, so his team hasn't been able to ride him to success. However, Paul Skeens for your NL Rookie of the Year. Well, what are your thoughts on the comparison between a batter, an outfielder, and a pitcher? It's two completely different sports.
So to say that Paul Skeens isn't a great call would be terrible. I do think he definitely has put together himself a beautiful
I think
season.
he's a Cy Young contender.
That, you know what, he very well likely might be. And I know you mentioned the Paul Skeens effect that really does have such an effect on winning for his team. But I think Jackson Merrill has really been doing it all this season, and
He's so clutch.
the ability to help his team, be a significant part of this team that is in the wild card spot right now. I think he was a little bit more significant this season.
If Merrill wasn't there, you'd still have Luis Arias, you'll still have Profar, you'll still have Tatis, you'll still have Machado. The Pirates, Skeens is their guy. Like, I don't think that Merrill's not even a star on his own team.
Well, that's a question almost of the role of a pitcher versus the role of a hitter, outfielder. So it's a little bit difficult to compare the two. Both are definitely good viable
Game 7
options.
of the World Series, you can add one to your team. Or for 7 games, the entire 7-game series, you can add one to your team. You're going with Skeens.
Sure. I might agree with you there.
Is that just because he's a starting pitcher?
But at the end of the day, the award isn't based off of who you take in a Game 7. It's really who you think was the better overall player this year. So it'll be interesting to see who takes the edge in the NL MVP race.
All right, so moving on to our final question. 5 minutes are on the clock. Which team that's not one of the top seeds will go on a Cinderella run, like the Rangers, like the D-backs, in this postseason?
So my call, after doing a bunch of research, I had a couple thoughts at first. Initially, I was going to go with the Orioles. But as of late, they kind of played themselves out of the AL East, whereas about a week ago, they were neck and neck with the Yankees for that #1 spot. I think they were tied or a game behind. And they've played themselves all the way down to 5 games back, to which I think they're now 4. But that was my first thought for which team. But after seeing that type of momentum, I really don't think they're gonna be too hot in the playoffs this year, because this is the time that you need to really put your best foot forward, and we really don't see that from them. So my first thought would be Orioles, but after doing some consideration, I have to go with the Detroit Tigers.
I like that
Their
pick.
last 10, they've been 8-2, and they've really been getting it done. A team that hasn't gotten so much recognition, but subtly, I think could definitely do some damage in the playoffs.
Good pitching, young hitters, hit the ball hard, and they were my sleeper team coming into the season. Didn't really get hot until late in the year. Let's see if they make some noise in the playoffs. However, I fall in love with a different team for the playoffs. So what are the two things that make it that the best team in the regular season isn't necessarily the best team in the playoffs? It's, well, the lack of pitching depth necessary and the way that the lineups match up with the pitchers they face. So if you look at an obvious known stat to all baseball fans that when the pitcher and hitter have the same strong arm, it's an advantage to the pitcher and vice versa. So let's look at the pitchers in the NL and the San Diego Padres, who have serious reverse splits against right-handed pitchers. They are one of the top teams in an MLB. However, they're only an average team against left-handed pitchers. That's why they're not seen as one of the best teams in baseball. And because there are more righties than lefties in the MLB, there's just more righties than lefties in the world. That's how it works. A lot of teams stack up on right-handed pitchers. And the Padres do very well against right-handed pitchers. For example, the Arizona Diamondbacks, out their top three starters, their top three relievers, the only lefty there is Montgomery. And the Padres are averaging 7 runs a game against the Diamondbacks. And now let's look through the top pitchers in the NL. The D-backs, who are their top two starters, Gallen and Kelly, both righties. The Dodgers, who are their top two starters going in, Yamamoto and Walker Buehler, both righties. The Brewers, who are their top three starters, Peralta, Reed, and Tobias Myers, they're all righties. The Phillies, who are their top starters, Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler. The Padres offense is going to do really good against these right-handed starters. And it doesn't end there. So we look at the Padres rotation, how it lines up for the playoffs. They have a couple of guys who are very good and a couple of guys who are kind of mediocre. However, you only really need 3, maybe 4 pitchers in the playoffs. So you look at the guys that are running at the front of the Padres rotation right now. That's Dylan Cease, that's Michael King, and then the lefty in there recently acquired, Martin Perez. And those 3 guys, when they pitch, the Padres win. When they don't pitch, the Padres are 42 and 41, 1 game over 500. However, when they pitch, the Padres are 44 and 25. That's 19 games over. And they're going to pitch 90 to 95% of the games that the Padres are going to play in the playoffs. So Padres pitching is going to be better. Their hitting is going to be better. In a 5-game series or a 7-game series, I think that the last team that you want to face is your Rookie of the Year winner, Jackson Merrill, Dylan Cease, Michael King, Fernando Tatis, and the San Diego Padres. And we saw
That's a very good argument. And
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm done.
I do think San Diego is a really hot team, and as you said, their pitching would really be able to get the job done. As well as my take for NL Rookie of the Year, along with the supporting cast. You know what? I don't disagree with you, but I really just see Detroit catching fire now. And the playoffs aren't about necessarily the stats that we've seen all season, and the playoffs aren't usually as rational as we think. Oftentimes the irrational becomes reality in the playoffs. So I think Detroit really has that and could wow some people.
Unfortunately, we've ran out of time. So time will tell. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. Like and subscribe. Have a good one.
Thank you.